If you heard the word of Indonesia, so what first comes to your mind?
A warm country.
A warm country.
It's
warm
that directly came up to my mind. A warm country in many aspects.
Yeah.
Beautiful country. A country that you will never get enough of.
Hello everyone, it's great to see you again. I'm Purwani Diah Prabandari and you're watching Temple Talks, a series of interviews with esteemed government officials, ambassadors, or other prominent figures involved in diplomacy and collaboration between countries, especially with Indonesia. Our guest today is the Swedish Ambassador to Indonesia, Ibu Marina Berg. Having dedicated approximately 5 years of service in Jakarta, she is preparing to conclude her tenure here. She will share her impactful contribution during her time in Jakarta with a particular emphasis on fostering green economic cooperation. Sweden and Indonesia currently have similar interests in green transition. Ibu Marina, it's an honor to have you here at Temple Talks. And you're going to leave soon?
I'm leaving quite soon. I'm leaving actually on Saturday night. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
You know, we're talking about the cooperation between Indonesia and Sweden, right? Especially about the green economy and the business things. One of the most important areas in the cooperation between the two countries is sustainability issues, especially the green economy, right? So could you elaborate on the essence of this collaboration and share insights on its progress thus far?
First of all, let me start to thank you for inviting me and sharing my valuable work, or the embassy's valuable work during my 5 years here in Indonesia. If I start by saying that my mission here was to deepen and broaden our bilateral relationship between our two countries, and then you try to find issues of common interests and concern. One of them is actually the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement. And I have, during my 5 years, tried to find ways of working together to support each other to implement the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and the Paris Agreement for the benefit of all people, for all of us.
Yeah, people from the two countries,
from
right?
The two countries, because what you do here affects the region and it affects Europe's and vice versa, of course.
So do you consider that you work well, and do you think that you got success on this cooperation while you're here in 5 years?
Yes, but I wouldn't have been successful if I hadn't brought in Swedish investments to your country. Finding ways of cooperating within the sustainability area is also how we can bring in Swedish investments to Indonesia.
So is there any improvement before? I mean, if we compare to the period or the time before you become ambassador here?
When I came to Indonesia, I started to elaborate together with the staff at the embassy and also with Business Sweden, who is also present here in Indonesia, how we can form a concept of how to focus our Swedish competences, comparative advantages in relations to the need and demand of Indonesia.
So I think we talked quite a lot at the time. I think I forget it's how many months ago, about the green economy, about green transition, right? And I think that Sweden is also have a good cooperation with Indonesia on the green transition.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, that's right. So what do you think of Indonesia in the terms of the climate change mitigation and its ongoing green transition that probably Sweden can work together or improve or increase the cooperation?
Let me first say that Indonesia and the Indonesian government has a firm commitment to green transition, which makes me very happy because that makes very much the ambition from the Swedish government and also from the Swedish private capital. We have brought the concept of Sweden-Indonesia sustainability partnership into reality in practical terms, focusing on sectors where we see comparative advantages from the Swedish innovative high-tech areas and where there is a great demand from Indonesia. These sectors are energy, transport, digitalizations and health. But I see that Indonesia, together with us, will make a change with this support from us in these sectors, in your very strong commitment to meet the demands that was set by the Paris Agreement, and also what has been set then on net zero emissions.
Sure. But can you elaborate more about this in the energy transition, and it's also in the transportation you mentioned it? Can you elaborate more on this issue?
One issue that often comes up is that countries do not afford to invest in green transition. It might be expensive in the beginning, but honestly, greener means richer. And Sweden is a living example of that. We have invested for many years and decades in sustainable production and green transition. And while we have done those investments, our economic growth has continued to grow and our GDP has continued to grow.
That's where Indonesia can learn, actually. Because, I know that this Indonesia, it's always things green investment, green economy, green industry. It means expensive things.
In the beginning, but in the long run, it will pay back. Because we cannot afford not to invest in sustainable production and green transition right now. Because the biggest challenge on Earth right now is climate change.
Okay. How do you feel the increasing cooperation on the issue right now? I mean, it's like after 5 years, and right now you already end your tenure in Indonesia. So how do you see the increasing in this cooperation?
I said in the beginning that my mission was to deepen and to broaden our collaboration. And one part is to bring in Swedish investments from the private sector and to find partners in the private sector here in Indonesia for our Swedish companies. But the other thing is also to bring in government authorities to Indonesia, Swedish government authorities, to support Indonesia in its capacity building. And what we do is to, as I said, working in these 4 sectors, we matchmake, and find government authorities from Sweden that can do good in, for instance, the energy sector. The Swedish Energy Authority is here supporting Indonesia and has been here for many years. And that at the same time supports Swedish companies because it decreases the risks.
What kind of support?
In the way that it decreases the risks for Swedish company to invest while Swedish companies get to know that there is a capacity building going on within that sector, specific sector that they want to invest, there is a sort of an assurance that there is less risks.
So there is like a knowledge transfer
Exactly.
to Indonesian.
Through the Swedish government authorities, yes.
Oh, through the Swedish government, means.
Yeah, the government's authorities, but also through, you know, the private capital that comes in and private companies. There is also knowledge transfer.
So can you give me example? What companies that actually quite big that invest in Indonesia in this sector?
In energy sector, we have many companies investing, small and medium and large companies investing. But on the whole, we have almost 100 Swedish companies or Swedish related companies established in Indonesia.
Hundreds. That's quite a lot.
Yeah. Ericsson being the company that has been here for the longest, established in Indonesia in 1907. And that is a company that is really promoting sustainability in Indonesia. With its high technology, it's also, you know, actually creating, increasing democracy in Indonesia.
Okay.
Access of technology to all people.
Now, we're talking about trade. So when we talk about the economic cooperation, it's not just about the investment, right? So it's also trade. Actually, how big the trade between Indonesia and Sweden, and what is the biggest sectors on it?
We have quite a substantial trade relation between our two countries. Sweden is the biggest trade, has the biggest trade relation with Indonesia compared to other Nordic countries. What we import from Indonesia is woodwork, for instance, textiles, and what we export is, for instance, Scania buses, Scania trucks, and cars.
Oh,
so more, you know, high technology produced products. But what we also have here in Indonesia is companies that are producing and retail in Indonesia. For instance, IKEA and H&M, which also introduced sustainable production in their retail.
But what about the Indonesian products that exported to Sweden?
Export to Sweden, the wooden thing. We actually, the wood thing and textiles.
But it's about the wood things that's related to the forestry products.
Yeah,
right. And the European Union has placed certain pressures on Indonesia on the trade issue or the economy issue. For example, because of the plantation forestry sector, right? So what is Sweden's official stance on this matter?
Let me start by saying that the Swedish government stands for free trade.
Okay.
Free trade and open barriers. And we are very keen on actually coming to an end with the ongoing negotiations between Sweden and EU, Indonesia and EU on free trade agreement, what we call SEPA. A broad free...
It's still in the negotiation process.
It's still a negotiation process. A few matters to be solved still, but that will mean a lot for Indonesia and for European companies opening up for free trade. It's a very comprehensive agreement that is being negotiated. Having said that, free trade is something that we have been believing in Europe for many, many years, and Sweden is no exception, which has made our country rich. Through free trade, we have developed our country. Economic growth comes with free trade. High technology and innovation comes with free trade. And that is also a way of cooperating within the trade area.
Does it also work well for the countries that's not has not been developed like Indonesia? We're
Yes.
still in the emerging.
Yes, you are a developing country, but you're in the upper middle income country, and you are a rich country. You have money to invest in high technology and innovation, but you need to diversify your economy, and that will happen automatically by opening up for foreign investors. With foreign investments also comes increased knowledge and competence in all sectors that you invest. With Swedish companies, for instance, who come to Indonesia, they come here for long term with a true partnership, and they all have intentions to also help Indonesia develop their skills.
But some Indonesian, I think a lot of Indonesian think that free trade gives like not really good influence, especially for the ordinary people, the people, and then the Indonesian or the local companies, especially the small and middle level companies in Indonesia, because we are not strong enough to compete, something like that. So we still need the protection. So what do you think of it?
Protection comes with investments. Protection, you will get protected by cooperating with international companies with skills. Let me start by saying that education is the foundation of everything, and research is something that we in Sweden value very highly. We rely on research and innovation. And most important for a country to develop is actually to increase their capacity when it comes to innovation and research. And you will not do that with locked doors. You need to have an interaction and cooperation with other countries and regions.
Okay. Is there any cooperation for research between Sweden and Indonesia?
Yes, there is. And we hope to increase that cooperation as well. For instance, we work with a program we call Study in Sweden and try to attract Indonesian students to go to Sweden and for higher education and research. And
there is a lot of scholarship for Indonesian students.
There are, and schools are free up to high school in Sweden. It's a little bit more expensive. It costs a little bit money. It's not expensive. University studies, but you can get scholarships. Yes.
So, you're going to leave Indonesia soon. And actually, I just wonder if there is something that you still want to do that, I wish I still have more time. So what's that?
When I came here in 2018, it was a country that was on its way up economically and kept becoming more and more strong politically as well. Not least on the international arena. And then came COVID. The first year here in Indonesia, I was fully occupied to get to know the country economically and politically. I didn't travel that much that I should have had.
Yeah,
and then
that's because
came
of the
COVID,
pandemic.
the pandemic, and which actually stopped me from travel. So if there was something I really wanted to do more of, it is traveling.
Traveling. But if in terms of the work?
In terms of the work, I think I've done what I can do. It was fantastic to see that even during the pandemic, the interest from Swedish companies actually increased to invest in Indonesia, because you are a stable country. You have steadily grown economically for years, and you have taken your firm direction through the pandemic, come out quite well, of course affected by the pandemic, but you have recovered well. And Indonesia has also impressively taken upon itself to take the chairmanship of G20 and now the ongoing chairmanship of ASEAN in a tremendous way, a brilliant way, very professional, and it's a success, both those chairmanships. And that makes Indonesia a stable country, a country that is attractive for foreign investors.
What about the policies of the government for investment or for the economic and business cooperation? I mean, probably some people complain, oh, still there is a big corruption in the executive, or there is policy that doesn't support for the climate, the good climate of the investment, something like that. So how do you think about that?
Let me first say that there is no country in the world that hasn't got any problem. But Indonesia is such a huge country with diversity and different cultures. And being a government in Indonesia is like being a government for many countries. It's like being the government for the whole Europe, to be honest. It's a difficult task, and you have to be respectful and realize that it's difficult to make everything good. There will be challenges, and of course we have regular political dialogues between our two governments, and we bring up issues of concern. But there are issues of concern in Sweden as well. So we share our challenges and try to help each other, government to government.
Okay. As the ambassador to Indonesia, what positive experience have you come across?
The positive experience is that I've been so well received. The first days coming to Indonesia, I was received so well by all people I met.
That's in 2018.
Yeah, and it has continued. I mean, the people-to-people interaction I value highly, and I love it. You know, you are kind people, you are warm, always happy, trying to help. There is one thing. The other thing is, as I just mentioned, how impressed I am about the government's strong stand on the international arena, becoming a true partner with Sweden, with the European Union on multilateral cooperation, standing firm on UN Charter, international law, and human rights and democracy.
And if you heard the word of Indonesia, so what first comes to your mind?
A warm country.
A warm country.
It's warm. That directly came up to my mind. A warm country in many aspects.
Yeah.
Beautiful country. A country that you will never get enough of.
Do you like something that Indonesia, like food or something else, place? Is there anything that you really like and you're going to miss when you get back to Sweden?
I'm going to miss your chili, your fresh chilies. I love chili.
Oh, the fresh chili.
Yeah.
That's why you look for the chili.
Yes, I did, didn't I? No, but I love the Indonesian cuisine. Gado-gado, all the kind of nasi gorengs you have, everything. I do love it. Oxtail soup, one of my favorites.
Okay. In your opinion, what will pose the most significant challenge for your successor in the role of ambassador?
I think that is to sort of grasp the country and your mission, because being such a huge country, there is so much that you can do. So it's the first challenge to actually focus with the limited resources you have, personnel and financially. You have to focus in order to succeed.
Okay. Ibu Marina, Thank you for the enlightening conversation. And regrettably, we must now bring today's episode to a close. Once again, it's an honor to have you here, and we extend our gratitude for your time.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
To our viewers, thank you for being with us today. I'm Purwani Dia Prabandari. Join us again next month for another engaging edition of Temple Talks. We will have another interesting topic and a distinguished guest. Have a wonderful day.